director at Queen's Park Rangers, but he does multiple roles there. But again, Chrissy Ramsey's knowledge, Chrissy was part of John McDermott's crew, wasn't he? And
he's brilliant. Chrissy
Alex
Ramsey's
Inglethorpe.
brilliant.
Yeah, you've seen them all go and flourish. But Chrissy Ramsey, I speak on a regular basis, and I don't know. I'm not saying he's wasted at QPR, but I just think that he's another one who offers so much. But he's of that era where time's of the essence, And my thing is that I think we're about to lose another good crop of black coaches who think the game cannot bring them anything, cannot offer them anything. And that's the worry. That's the worry for me, because we've got to continue to empower the next generation, and there's a good wave of coaches coming through there. We've got to believe that there's opportunity for them. We've got to believe that their ability in terms of their coaching ability will take them to the next level. And we've got to keep making sure that we support them and guide them as well.
So do they need to, some of these coaches, do they need to go and do what Eddie Newton's done and go and try and, make a name abroad and work from there and just even if it just means
to do that.
Well, no, but they shouldn't. But you can still, I think you can. If you can get a career, you can get a career. So if you can try and get a career and just say,
you know what, we also got to appreciate that it's a massive sacrifice. It's Eddie's been in the game a very long time, and again, I can't believe that Eddie couldn't get a job in England. I just can't believe it. But he's made the journey to Turkey. It's a different lifestyle. It's loads of things that you have to put into consideration when you're making that move. And ultimately, he's won himself a trophy and he's got the permanent role. I'm sure that many others would do the same thing, but a lot of them want to achieve in England as well. They played their whole careers in England. They've learnt their trade in England. Sometimes you want, everyone talks about England having the best leagues in the world. Debatable, I know, but that's what people talk about. So if you talk about having the best leagues, top two leagues are unbelievable, then why would you not want to pursue your dream at those levels, Eddie, you're right. Eddie had to go. Ricky Hill, as I mentioned before, had to go to America, and then won things in America. Still didn't get the recognition when he comes back to England. So it doesn't always work.
Yeah, and then you get other people that will walk straight into top jobs with,
as we've seen,
less qualifications than I had at the time, which was fantastic for them.
Are other sports worse, Troy? I was meant to ask you. So look at cricket and you look at rugby. Are they better than football?
In terms of what, Stacey?
Obviously picking black coaches and
really?
minorities.
No. I think what it is we're so consumed by football, we sometimes forget all these other sports, don't we? Something's come out in cricket recently where they need to look at themselves. I've been speaking to someone in rugby. Again, they need to look. There's the representation right across. You've only got to look in. They've done something around the boardrooms recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
And there was only 3 black board members out of, I don't even know how many it was, but that's right across so many sports, So this is not just a football issue. But obviously we talk so strongly and passionately about it because of our knowledge of the game. But it's, if you look at what's happening with Lewis Hamilton in F1 and, what he's trying to do in terms of just getting the players, the drivers to take a knee and appreciate and understand why they're doing it. And I haven't got a problem with people that don't want to take a knee, by the way. If you don't want to take a knee for whatever reason, but you're trying to be respectful to the cause, I haven't got a problem with that. It does send a message out, I've got to be honest, but I haven't got a problem with it, But, there were times when Lewis was kneeling and half the drivers weren't even there. They were coming in from having an ice drink or something. And
that's disrespectful. You've got to still stand there with him, hand on his shoulder, give him a bit of support.
And I'm hearing stories this weekend of rugby having issues because rugby's come back. And I'm hearing stories of rugby having issues because players won't take the knee and supporters are showing their true colours.
Rugby union, that's kicked off the rugby union.
That's not just. Obviously, I don't. As you say, we kind of focus on football, and I don't really focus that much around the other sports. But I found it ironic that pre this Black Lives Matter kind of blowing up and sort of taking being the focus. when any time, like, you know, Kick It Out did anything, you got criticised and said, well, you don't do enough, or you're not, you know, you're just paying, yeah, right. And then all of a sudden, now they're saying, but like, you know, with Black Lives Matter, they said, well, you don't need Black Lives Matter. Get rid of Black Lives Matter, because Kick It Out was what we need. Kick It Out was doing a good enough job. So, you know, it's what, you know.
That's why sometimes I try not to read the middle bits, because certain people who are like exactly what you're saying, "Oh, Kick It Out, I've been there forever," and they are the same certain people that, when someone like me or other representatives do talk, are saying, "Oh, here they go again." Do you know what I mean? So that line of Black Lives Matter is a political movement, but, you know, it's not needed in football because of what Kick It Out does. Most of those people are the same people that would look me in the eye and say, you know, what are you talking about? Racism doesn't exist in football. So I haven't got a lot of time for those people, to be honest. Listen, like I said to you earlier, I don't make things up, you know, and I hear stories from players, I hear stories from fans, I hear stories from community groups, I hear stories from grassroots groups. They don't make it up to talk to me. I'm a person with a voice, so I put it out into the public domain, you know. If you don't like it, then, I don't know, don't listen to what I've got to say. But football has an absolute problem with racism and discrimination. There's no hiding that.
How many is at Tottenham now? Sorry to interrupt. Tottenham black coaches or black members of staff in the Tottenham. How many do you know? There's only one or two, isn't there? We haven't got many.
No, there's more than that. There's more than that. I look through the academy.
Yeah.
I haven't been there now. When was the last time I've been to Tottenham Academy? Earlier on in the year. There's about, I think, from what I visibly see, about 4 or 5 academy coaches. I don't know if you remember Troy Henville Archibald, that was a youngster at Spurs. He's working in the academy now as well.
Good.
You know, so there's some good people. John McDermott always used to bring the ex-players back. That's why you got the likes of Ryan Mason back there.
Yeah.
And Troy back there, because John used to always love them to come back if there was nothing doing.
Chris
back
Powell,
and embrace.
Chrissy
Powell is now been announced in there as well. I mean, Chrissy Powell, I'm shocked. You know, 1 minute he's assistant manager out in Holland to Alan Pardew. Listen, Chris has always been a Spurs supporter, so maybe he's absolutely made up about, you know, joining the academy environment. But again, I don't know. He's a guy who's managed at the top levels of the game. So, you know, but he will do that job, and the respect he will get will be brilliant. So we've got a good quota at Spurs. Much better than a lot of other clubs, I'd say.
Good stuff. So when we spoke about racism in football quite a lot today, right? But you also represent diversity on other platforms and other areas, and you support Proud Lily Whites. Is that all right? Am I right?
Yeah. I went to their very first event, I think five odd years ago now. Caused a bit of a stir there as well, unfortunately. But their first event was at the old White Hart Lane, when they was kind of announcing themselves as a fan base, as a fan group. And I've got really close with the likes of Chris Paros and Simon Gray, who are part of that, who helped set it up, and I think Chris is still co-chair, Simon was. But even that day, you know, and this is, like I said, I can't fabricate things to suit people's agenda. So I was sitting on a panel, and the last question on that panel was, when do I think there'll be a gay player playing in the Premier League? And I'm not going to make things up, so I've got to be honest. And I said, not in my lifetime. The uproar. What do you mean, not in your lifetime? Like, there's banks and there's this and there's that. And I just wanted to say that football has to change fundamentally to allow someone to be themselves, to come out in the industry, if they feel that they have to come out, by the way. 6 years ago, football wasn't ready for that. 6 years down the line, I still don't think football's ready. Remember, they said in the Premier League, and I still don't think the game's ready for that. You hear stories come out in the summer about, a couple of players are ready to come out and they're thinking about it. And then those stories get sensationalized by our beautiful media again, you know, and they're out there and there's a silhouette of a player, you know, all blacked out, that represents the person that's supposed to be coming out. You know, and you kind of think to yourself, we haven't learned. We're never going to learn in this game. And I just think that whoever it is, whoever it may be, there has to be so much put in place in terms of just protecting them and their very well-being. I haven't spoken about mental well-being a lot during the course of racism and during the course of what we're talking about here. But you have to protect someone's mental well-being, mental state of mind. And again, I don't think we're very good at that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting because the reason we wanted to get you on is because it was an interesting topic to talk about, something that affects me, affects you, affects a lot of people. But as a podcast, we try to cover a lot of issues. So, you know, we've spoken about mental health, we've spoken about LGBT, so homophobia, all this sort of stuff. And before we sort of decided to focus on being a Spurs specific podcast, we're going to just cover all types of issues. And there was a guy that I was in contact with on Twitter who was LGBT, and he was going to talk about his experiences within the game. And I didn't know this at the time, but actually he'd been a youth player within like a professional club, and had you know, it had a game on his local team's pitch, but he'd also gone and watched games on, like, you know, and stood in the stand and heard a lot of the homophobic abuse that was being like hurled at people, not because that player was particularly gay, but they wanted to, you know, to try and disrupt that player or to put them off or just use that as a term of offence. And it made him think, well, I can't. And he left the game. He walked out of the game, not that match, but, you know, he walked away from pursuing a career within the game because he just didn't feel that it would ever be comfortable being on a pitch, having people hurling stuff. And
it's that tribalism, though, isn't it? It's that tribalism. You know, we pay our money, we can say what we want. They earn a lot of money, they should be able to take it. And then, listen, I understand the you know, they're getting angry at the game. It is a game that draws out all your raw emotions, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You know, you can be the placid kind of person eating a burger just outside the ground. The minute you get in and you see a shot or a goal or an incident, you become this enraged human being, you know? And I understand that. But to go to the lengths of some of the language that I hear for no reason whatsoever in the earshot of little ones and of women, of people of colour, I don't understand it. I get the odd swear word, you know, F's sake and all that. I understand that. But some of the other stuff that people just generally just come out with and say because they can, I cannot understand that mentality. I cannot, and a lot of people are doing it more now. They just take it onto social media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those frustrations now, they just take onto social media. I cannot understand that.
I remember I took my son to a Spurs game, and he'd wanted to, I'd been taking him to our local team, and he just wasn't interested because he knew that wasn't my club. And he was like, well, when are you going to take me to Spurs? So I got him a ticket for Spurs, and because we weren't members, I had to pay full price for him, and we had to go into the South Stand. And we just happened that we were sat very close to the away supporters. So brought him in, sat him down. He was 8, and he sat down next to this absolute lump of a guy, massive, just look. And I looked at this guy and I thought, oh my God. And this guy looked at my son, and the look in his face was like, that's my swearing done for the day. Now, the reason I say this story so often is because he could have been like, there was 2 other blokes that walked in off their faces. They turned up 15 minutes into the game, proceeded to spend the whole 30 minutes remaining of the first half swearing and cursing at the Man City fans. This guy, he spoke to my son. He asked him how he was, enjoying the game. Didn't swear apart from once where he made a mistake. Referee, you lost it. Sat down. Sat down, apologised to me, apologised to my son, carried on chatting to him, and I, you know, and it